everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into a report from Relay Therapeutics. Get ready for some twists and turns because, trust me, sometimes these reports hide more than they reveal. So before we start, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below where we talk about all kinds of interesting findings we come across in company filings. Consider joining us. Andekte Kebs, the annual some twists and trusts and turns. Relay Therapeutics just had their annual shareholder meeting, and we're going to break down what happened, who got elected, and how people voted on important company matters. This is where shareholders get to voice their opinions, so let's see if there were any surprises or disagreements. First up, let's talk about the main event, the shareholder meeting that happened in June. These meetings are where the big decisions get made and the shareholders, the people who own the company, get to vote. The first item on the agenda was electing the company's directors. These are the people who sit on the board and help guide the company's strategy, kind of like the captains of a ship. Two people were up for election, Alexis Borisy and Mark Magecko. Now the votes were in and it looks like both Alexis Borisy and Mark Magecko were elected to serve as directors for the next 3 years. But let's dig into the numbers a bit more because there's always a story behind the numbers. Borisy got about 80.7 million votes for about a big number, 43 million votes were withheld. Magecko got about 79.5 million votes for then about 44.2 million votes were withheld. Magecko got about 79.5 million votes for and about 44.2 million votes were withheld. Magecko got about 79.5 million votes for and about 44.2 million votes were withheld. Magecko got about 79.5 million votes for and about 44.2 million votes were withheld. Magecko got about 79.5 million votes for withheld. Magecko got about 79.5 million votes for and about 44.2 million votes were withheld. Magecko got about 79.5 million votes for and about 4. Next, there was a vote on executive compensation. Basically how much the top bosses get paid. Now this vote is non-binding, which means the company doesn't have to listen to what the shareholders say, but it's still a good way to see if shareholders are happy with how the executives are being paid. The results showed about 69.7 million votes in favour of the executive compensation, but a pretty substantial number, almost 54 million votes, were against it. Again, almost 19 million broker votes didn't vote either way. This is a pretty clear sign that a lot of shareholders aren't thrilled with how much the executives are making. Even though the vote is non-binding, the company should definitely pay attention to this. If a large portion of your shareholders think the executives are overpaid, that's a problem. Finally, there was a vote to approve and Young as the company's accounting firm for the year. This is usually a pretty straightforward vote since companies generally want to approve the accounting firm to keep things smooth. In this case, the shareholders overwhelmingly approved the appointment with over 142 million votes in favour. This means most shareholders are okay with Ernst & Young handling the company's books. So what's the takeaway from all of this? Relay Therapeutics had a pretty standard annual meeting, but there were some interesting undercurrents. The election of directors was approved, but a lot of people withheld their votes, and the vote on executive compensation shows a pretty big disagreement on whether the top bosses are being paid too much. Now let's zoom out and think about what this all means for Relay Therapeutics. The fact that so many shareholders withheld votes for the directors and voted against the executive compensation package could point to some underlying issues. The company is focused on discovering and developing new medicines, and the executive team is responsible for guiding that effort. So if shareholders aren't happy with how much these executives are being paid, it could be a sign that they're not seeing the results they expect. On the other hand, the company did get a vote of confidence by people voting in favour of the proposal to make Ernst & Young L the independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year. Current shareholder concerns about executive pay is definitely something the company needs to address. They might need to rethink their compensation strategy, or at least do a better job of explaining to shareholders why the executives are being paid what they are. Alright, that's our breakdown of Relay Therapeutics' latest shareholder meeting. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.